So we based our training on what we've been seeing out in the field, and teachers are very proficient, for the most part, at marking a running record. They can listen and check and record, but that's as far as it goes. And then the results are not used to drive their instruction. So we realized that the analysis piece, the thinking about what sources of information did the student use when they made an error, and what sources did they use when they fixed the error, those pieces were not being looked at. And that's the powerful part that drives your instruction. So today our purpose was analyze those running records. Think about the strengths of the student and what they need. And when you can identify their need, then we're going to take you into the Teacher's Companion, Jan Richardson's Teacher's Companion, to get that concise language that will help you prompt them for accelerated growth in reading and get them to the next step. So it all works together. We don't have the so what. We have it marked, but we don't have the next steps. And that's what analysis does.
You're going to be joining a partner, and I think everyone has partners at every table except maybe these two lovely ladies. Can I get you to move your chairs together and you two be partners? So everyone, I think, has a partner at your table, and we're going to be doing this experience in just a minute. So then also, there's also just another page for your information. That's the next page in your packet that talks about the prompts and coding for running records. So what we're going to do now is we're going to turn, not yet, don't be looking now, don't be looking. So the next two pages are going to be what you see up here. One of the two of you, first you're going to have to know who is going to be your partner. So right now, turn to your partner and say, "Hi, I'm your partner." All right, so everyone has a partner then? Everybody at a table? Very nice. All right, so now you need to choose who's going to be partner A and who's going to be partner B. So turn to your partner and say, "Hi, I'm partner A," or "Hi, I'm partner B." Everybody know who's partner A, who's partner B? Okay, so let's look up here. If you are partner A, you're going to be the student today. Okay, don't worry, at the end of this, we're all going to be we're going back to being teachers, so, or maybe you don't want to. All right, so partner A, you are going to be the reader. This is not an easy read. Okay, so do not just be like, "Oh, I'm going to pretend I'm a student, I'm going to pretend and make some mistakes." No. There'll be mistakes that you're probably going to make, so you don't need to worry about pretending. You're going to do this like you are really a student, really going to be reading this text, trying to figure out what it's. Do not look at you looking. Cheater, pumpkin eaters, I tell you what. Are you teachers or what? All right, so after you listen to the introduction, which is being read by partner B, because you're the teacher. All right, so partner B, you're going to go 2 pages past. Partner A, you're just going to turn to the next page. So partner B, we don't have to have possibly C because it works out that we're an even number. Woo, woo, right? So you're going to be the recorder, partner B, and you're going to read the introduction to partner A. Then you are going to take notes. Like you are doing, well, you are doing a running record, not like you are. You are doing a running record on what it is that partner A is reading. Now, there is a backside, so there's comprehension questions. Don't freak out. There are no answers, and that is because we're really going to try this to think about ourselves not only as the teacher, but also as the student. So you're probably going to have a lot of the same feelings, whether you are reading it or whether or not you are the teacher. So please, partner A, do not feel uncomfortable. This is meant to put you into a child's frame of mind or what it feels like to do a running record. It is not going to be easy. It is not going to be easy. So just do not think that we think that you don't know what you're talking about. This is meant to give us an authentic experience of what a child is feeling when they're doing a running record with you, okay? How did I do with my directions? Do you understand what you're doing? Anybody have any questions? All right, partner B, read the introduction, and then partner A, go ahead and start reading your article. So since you've kind of had this authentic experience, you probably were thinking, phew, thank goodness I wasn't partner A, those of you that are partner B, right? They go, woo, thank goodness, dodged a bullet there, right? So now let's work together, okay? So as you're finishing, both of you can have your running record form out. You can both be reflecting back to the actual story, although it's written on the running record also. But specifically refer to the meaning, the syntax, the visual, answering the questions, doing the retell, take a look at that rubric, kind of have a discussion of what do you look for? What are your look fors when you are the teacher and you're doing a running record with your student? What are your look fors? And what would you do with this student when you pulled them into small group? So, whenever you're doing a running record and you're thinking through, have you ever really stepped back and taken some time to think about what was going on with them? What strategies were they leaning on? And what strategy do I need to now help them with, right? So that's really the biggest piece of the work that we're going to be doing, one of the bigger pieces. We're going to really try to focus on how can we now prompt to, how can we work to what this assessment is telling us, rather than just having an assessment that we're just kind of working through.
When am I going to use this inside my classroom?
Whenever you're listening to a reader. So it could be in small group, it could be. It could be that students are independent reading and I'm pulling up next to someone and conferring with someone. I'm listening in and I'm always thinking, why did the reader do that? What sources of information were they using? And what do I need to say to prompt to move them forward? In this part, show of hands if you are familiar with the sources of information. A few are. Okay, and if you're not, that's all right. That's our work for the next few minutes, and then we're going to apply it to analyzing a running record together. Okay, so we think about the sources of information. They came from Marie Clay, who we talked about earlier. We have meaning, structure, and visual information. And it's the orchestration of all three of those systems that the reader uses in order to get meaning from text. Now, you already talked about your meaning broke down in that last passage, and the conversation I was having in one table was, it was the vocabulary, right? The vocabulary was tricky. And so if you had the vocabulary, you probably would have felt a lot more successful with that piece. So let's see what we mean by meaning, structure, and visual. So if we take a look at syntax or structure, it refers to the structure of the English language. And by the way, like Paige mentioned before, you're going to get the PowerPoint. So you will have all of this. And you can pick and choose what your team needs, right? But you'll have all of this. So if I were to give you this sentence, throw out some things that could go in that blank. Ran, jumped, slithered, ooh, love it. What else? Scooted, crawled, nice. Okay, let me ask you something. How did you know to choose those words? They're action words, they're verbs. How did you know to put a verb there? Because that's what is missing. That's what would sound right. It's your knowledge of the structure of the English language, right? You're using language structure, your knowledge from your oral language. So if a student makes an error and it's not following grammatically the rules of the English language, what are you going to prompt? Well, did that sound right? Right? Let me give you a little more information. How about now? What would you say? Hopped or? But you know now it's not slithered, right? Okay, how do you know that? Rabbits don't slither, right? You're using your knowledge of rabbits, your background knowledge. And so that we refer to that as the meaning. Meaning in the story, also meaning that you're bringing in your background knowledge. Now, meaning at the early levels, those of us and all of us in this room have taught emergent readers even in second grade, right? We have those students who are developing as readers. A lot of the meaning for them is carried in the pictures, isn't it? There's not a complexity of text at the early levels, so they're using those pictures to bring meaning. So if they say something, and how many of you have had this happen, they start to understand the idea of phonics. And suddenly, they no longer look at the picture. And they'll come to a word in a book that's not really phonetic and try to sound through it. And you're thinking in your head, but you don't want to interrupt to say, look at that picture. Look at the picture. Now, during a formal cold read, we can't prompt at all, but if it's a first read of a book that we've introduced, that might be the prompt, right? What would make sense? Later on, it's what would make sense in the context of the story, right? As they move up into levels, and naturally, the pictures become less supportive, and we want that. We want them using their strategies. Let me give you one more clue. What is it now? Jumped, right, and you knew that because starts with a J, right? So you used your knowledge of letters and sounds. And so visual information, and this is the one people tend to get confused, visual and meaning. Meaning refers to, does it make sense in the story? Is there meaning in the pictures? Visual refers to the way the letters look and sound. So you're looking at print for visual, okay? So just to tie it all together, here's a slide you can share with your teachers. The orchestration of those sources of information in the text help readers understand what they're reading. This is a level B, it's an emergent text, and we're starting here because honestly, it's a little easier to analyze, right? Then we'll move into some that are more complex. So let's take a quick look at our book. We have, look, this is My New School. Take a look at the pictures because remember, this is where the reader is going to get a lot of their meaning at this level. All right, so let's go to My New School. So we're going to kind of do the first couple. I'm going to do them, you know, I'm going to kind of think aloud a little bit. Then I want you to do some of the other ones, and then we'll come back together. So the little one said, look at. Now I know they ignored the punctuation, but at the time they made the error, remember they hadn't read on, right? That's as far as they read. Look at. Does that make sense? Yeah. Structurally, is it grammatically correct? Yeah, right? If you ignore the punctuation, it is, right? Does at look like the word this? No. No. So you'll notice that in the cues used column, we have meaning and structure. It made sense, it sounded right. We did not put a V for visual because it really didn't look like the word. All right, so next page. Now, oh, and keep in mind, this is how it happened. Look at is my new school. Look, it. Now what do you think? Look, it. Now I know he self-corrected, but before the self-correction, look, it. Does that make sense? No. Well, what if it had said, look, it is my new teacher, right? Yeah. Does it sound good? Yeah. Visually, is there some similarity? Maybe a little bit more, right? Maybe a little bit more. So now, on our, and by the way, I know this is our official running record, right? It's a cold read, it's a testing book. But there is no way on this form to analyze why the reader fixed it. And that bugs me because we're losing information. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to ask ourselves what most likely sent the reader back to fix this error, and then we'll underline it, record it and underline it. That'll be our little code to ourselves of why did they fix it. So why do you think he fixed it? Well, if he knew the word it, which at level B he should, he may have realized, oops, that's not it, and fixed it. If that's the case, then I'm going to record that V in the V column that he looked closer at the word and underline it. Okay, so you'll notice that little note on your running record form, underline, or take, underline, maybe I didn't put on there, but you might want to stick a little note on there to underline what they use to self-correct. And then that helps us realize, wow, I'm looking for patterns, aren't I? Does he have a pattern? Let's see. Are there sources of information he tends to use most often? Maybe, right? We'll see. Bless you, we'll see. Okay, so now we did the first two, and actually this one on page 5 is the same. He just didn't fix it, so you don't really need to do that. We already know it made sense and it sounded good. But would you look at page 4, he said, look, this is my new pesk. Remember that one? And then on page 7, he says, look, this is my new paperbrush. So with a partner at your table, go ahead and analyze and think about why did the reader do that. Now, they did not fix either of those, so you can't go beyond just analyzing that error. But let's see what you think. So when we look at this and we say, look, this is my new pesk. Well, first of all, does pesk make sense? Yes. No. Does it sound right? Is there such a word? No. Well, not in this context, right? No. What was he probably using? Visual. Nice, right? And so that particular error breaks the pattern, doesn't it? We were anticipating this level B reader was probably going to be strong using meaning and structure, and that often is the case, isn't it, at that emergent level? But that's not what we saw. And this brings up a point. We need to be open when we analyze. And not just open for readers at a particular level, but open to readers. Sometimes we will get an idea in our head about how a reader responds based on what they've done in the past. And sometimes we miss when they actually have a new response, or they're using a cueing system or a source of information in a way that they did not before. So we want to be open. So look, this is my new pesk. Okay, and then the most interesting one. Look, this is my new paperbrush. Is there some visual similarity in the word? Yeah. A lot, right? What do you think about paperbrush? Did anyone feel like they used some meaning with that?
There's paper on the desk.
So in the picture, you see paper, you see a brush in the air, and by the way, someone in an earlier training said, well, it's not a word, but it should be. I said, okay. However, someone else said maybe, and actually we had that same conversation at this table, maybe this student is learning English and honestly doesn't know that that's a paintbrush. And they look at the picture and they see paper and they see a brush. Could be. We don't have the student here next to us, do we? We're not inside their heads. So we are using our best judgment. But if this were our student and we had the reader, first of all, we would see where their eyes went. We would know if they were an English language learner. It would better inform our analysis. Here's something else I want you to think about, though. Of the two errors, which one concerns you the most? Paperbrush or this is my new pesk? Pesk, thank you. And why are you so concerned about this error? Thank you. Yeah, it doesn't make sense, does it? So this reader on this page read on. They were happy to leave. This is my new pesk. That concerns me more because even beginning with level A, I'm always wanting them to know that the author has a message, a story, and it needs to make sense.
They were given the guided reading teacher's companion in hopes that when they go back to their classrooms, they'll be looking at these running record pieces. They'll be able to look at that. Are they struggling with meaning? And if that's the case, then in the prompting guide, it gives them even the words that they can use until they become more familiar with the prompting idea. So prompting really is more about getting the children to say to you what you want to tell them. So this helps you to ask the questions as opposed to teach the students. Now we're asking the children to respond to the questions that we're asking.
It's the concise language we use, that conversation that's powerful for kids. So now when we look at the tabs, we see it goes from pre-A all the way to fluent, depending on the stage of your reader. I'm going to have you flip to the green tab, emergent. We know that's levels A to C, and that was the level of our little level B student that we just looked at. I want you to keep that running record out of the level B student, and here's what we're going to do in a moment. I want you to look at that student, and then I want you to look at this profile, and I want you, with a partner, to decide what characteristics of this emergent reader profile do we find even just on one running record from this level B reader. And then we're going to turn the page again. Based on what we learned about that level B reader, what prompts would I use? And then I'm going to turn it over and I see teaching points. If I saw this was a group need, not just, one, but these are teaching points I can demonstrate. The goals are on one side and how to demonstrate it's on the other. I put our level B reader back up here just so we could reference this. I know you have it in front of you. So let's think first. Let's go to that profile. Profile of the emergent reader. So what did you notice? And I'm going to kind of come to table 2 here. We had a little conversation. What did you notice about this student, level B? How does this student fit the profile? What strengths did you see?
The directionality, moving left to right, and that was noted at the bottom of the reading record.
Anything else you noticed? You can popcorn out, whatever. Some sight words, yeah. What else? From the notes at the bottom, you said left to right, also like that speech to print match, right? Okay, nice. Some letters and sounds, nice. What did you notice? So we're noticing a lot of strengths based on some of our data in that running record. What do you notice is not consistent?
Some of his sight words and the P and the D.
We have a wondering about that, don't we? Red paper brush that started with a P but didn't read desk pest, so we're wondering about that D. What about pesk desk? What did that make you think when you're looking here? What's maybe not consistent yet? Monitoring for meaning, right? All right. Flip over. Let's go to the teaching points. All right, so we have some teaching points there. We have some prompts. What did you notice about the language? Let's look at monitoring for meaning. That's under the teaching point. So we purposely reread a page, we make an error, and we say, did that make sense? Let's reread that sentence together and make sense. Wow. Clear, concise, right? Focused. It's not a lot of talk.
You have a book at your table. That is the level That's the running record and the book that you're going to study. You're going to use your prompting guide on that specific level, and you're going to analyze the running record, like what we did, what Diana did with you. So that was the she do. Now we're going to do the we do. So you're going to do the same thing that you did with her. Now you're going to do that with this specific level. So look for your title, look for your running record. Get out your prompting guide, open that up to either early or transitional. Those are the only two sections you're really going to be looking at. Just like what you did for the emergent section, you're going to look at the profile. Analyze the running record, then look at the profile. Then you want to look at the prompts. If this were your student, what would you do next? After you have chosen from your prompting guide what you would do as the teacher, what would you do with this student? After you've chosen some prompts and you've decided as a team, this is a group effort, once you've chosen that, then you are going to become the specialist, and I'm going to put you with a new group. That new group is going to have their own they'll be specialized in the other 3 running records. So you'll have to bring to the table in the prompting guide on this page, this is what I found, and this is what I'm going to share with you, and this is why I decided that. We really wanted to make sure that the teachers were feeling an authentic experience of what is the child feeling when they're doing a running record. Then we pulled it back to what does that mean as a teacher whenever you're prompting? Like, what are you looking for in the running record specifically? And then we're going to actually take it whole class, and we're going to say, now we have all of this data for each of your students. How can we group them? So we really kind of went taking it to who it is, then to what a child would be feeling, then taking the child data, looking at other children, and how can we group them. We started off today with what does a child feel, right? Were you feeling like a frustrated child when you were doing that running record? Okay. Then we went to a B level, and then we crossed over early into transitional, really diving into that teacher's companion guide and how do our prompts change, or how much are they similar. So I love, just like what Diana shared, the conversations are just amazing. So kudos to you. I think that your teams are going to really benefit from all of this wealth of information that you're bringing back to them. So this piece helps you see that the running record, you don't have to have 20 pieces of paper sitting out in front of you on your bed or wherever it is that you do your data analysis. You can take all of the information from the running record, and you have this. So this piece is the assessment summary chart for the early readers. This is actually from a classroom. I asked one of my teachers to bring me some data, and I wrote out, she brought me all of their running records, and I just filled this in quickly with using the data that she had on the running records.